Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today I'm speaking about another episode from season 4. I'm kind of back to going in order and skipping over episodes that I've already covered in the past. So I am up to the episode The Boondoggle, which was written by our future writer-producers Claire Whitaker and Rod Peterson and directed by Ralph Waite. To begin with, Boondoggle. I had to look it up. It says, as a noun, it's work or activity that is wasteful or pointless but gives the appearance of having value. As a verb, it is to waste money or time on unnecessary or questionable projects, and it is from the 1930s of unknown origin. So how appropriate. Within the episode, Porter Sims defines a boondoggle as something made up from scraps. So keep that in mind as we go forward. John Boy, once again, has been asked to show someone around town to sort of serve as a host and a guide. In this case, it is Porter Sims, played by actor Richard Mackenzie, who you might recognize from the series It Takes Two. He is going to be writing a guidebook about Virginia, and John Boy comes to pick him up at the bus station. Now, what they know about Porter Sims is that he wrote articles as a journalist about the Scopes trial, which, when John Boy talks about this, really upsets particularly Grandma, who thought that the whole idea of what the Scopes trial covered was just so offensive to her, the idea that man came from apes. So she already has a predisposition to dislike and distrust Mr. Sims. John Boy brings Porter Sims to the house, introduces him to the family, and is talking about the various different things that he might share with him about Virginia and about the local area. Grandpa has some ideas and wants to take Porter around to some local landmarks. John Boy really wants to introduce him to the Baldwin Sisters, which Grandpa keeps trying to sort of steer John Boy away from. So we get the sense that there's really something behind that, which indeed there is. John Boy does indeed take Porter Sims to the Baldwins, where of course they share the recipe with him, which needless to say is a big hit with him. And the Baldwin sisters feel that they trust him, not just because they like him, he's charming, but because John Boy brought him, and so they feel like if John Boy trusts him, they can trust him. And so they decide to share with him a portmanteau of papers of their fathers, of Papa, Judge Baldwin's, not all of which they have even read, but they entrust them to him to read through so that the judge can be a prominent part of this guidebook in the history of Virginia. They also, as it turns out, invite him to stay at their place while he is reviewing these papers. As it happens, as Porter Sims reads through these various different papers, he uncovers information that Captain Matthew Baldwin, which is, I guess, their papa's actual full name. So during the Civil War, he finds out that there were Union soldiers that were harbored at the Baldwin sisters' house. This is completely shocking and upsetting to the Baldwin sisters, because then subsequently their papa was charged with treason. So it just creates this huge upset with the Baldwin sisters. They feel that they will have to withdraw from society. The shame of it, it's a blot on the family name, and they don't know how they're going to face their neighbors with all of this. So it does create a huge situation, and John Boy has taken responsibility for whatever might happen. So John Boy is now really on the spot. John Boy confronts Porter about this, and of course John Boy has really admired the fact that Porter has gone after the truth on things, even if it wasn't popular, like on the Scopes trial. But in this case, he doesn't want Porter writing something, particularly not knowing what the outcome of these charges were. So they agree that they're going to go see if they can find out what came of these charges. Were they dropped? Was he found guilty? What was the truth of this? Because Porter sort of challenges John Boy to say, well, do you want me to not tell the truth? Is that really what you want? Is that what one should do as a writer, as a journalist, to sugarcoat the actual truth? What does that say going forward about the accounts of history? So John Boy's kind of caught here between the fact that he always wants to tell the truth. And later on, of course, in the episode where Ben is caught trespassing and is part of a story about for the Blue Ridge Mountain Chronicle, and Mama doesn't want John Boy to print what happened because of the embarrassment of the family over Ben. And John Boy, of course, insisted, well, he has to tell the truth. So this is part along that line of John Boy having to determine his conscience and his belief in the truth against how this is going to impact the feelings of people that are important to him. Miss Mamie has taken to her bed. Now we see Miss Mamie's bedroom, and this is not a usual set that was there all the time. Even though we saw the Baldwin sisters fairly regularly, this was a set that would have just been built and furnished for this episode. I don't recall if we saw Miss Mamie's bedroom again in the future, but there were several scenes there in this episode. John Boy hopes that Grandpa might know more, since he now recognizes that Grandpa was trying to steer him away from taking Porter Sims to the Baldwins. And now he says, this is what you thought I'd find. And he finally, Grandpa admits that yes, he knew about this, but he also, as far as he knows, the war ended, and so the trial never happened. So there was never a resolution to it. So this does not give John Boy an answer to what to do next. The main subplot in this episode revolves around Jim Bob, who is trying to sell fish. So he has been catching fish and then looking to sell them to, neighbors and whether it's Mrs. Brimmer for her boarding house, or the Baldwin sisters, or Ike Godsey, anybody who might need fish. But the problem that he has is that, like Mrs. Brimmer says, well, I could have used them yesterday, but I don't need them today. And Jim Bob already has these fish and they won't be fresh tomorrow. So when he's at Drusilla's pond with Elizabeth, he gets the idea to dam off a section of the pond. And then when he catches fish, he puts them into the little pond. The problem is that Elizabeth starts naming the fish and making friends with them and all of that. So while Jim Bob is using this as a holding area, Elizabeth is forming a fish family. Jim Bob goes around, he gets multiple orders from people, and then he's going to go fulfill these orders. And Elizabeth has decided that she can't possibly imagine these fish, who are now her friends, being given to people to fry up. So she ends up unlocking the dam and letting all the fish go away, and there goes Jim Bob's fish business. Concerned about the Baldwins, Mama and Grandma have come to help care for Miss Mamie. And then John Boy, Grandpa, and Daddy end up coming over to find out what's going on. And Porter Sims is gone. John Boy goes to his room. He's not there. He has left a note, which John Boy then shares with everyone, that in continuing to read through the judge's papers, he comes across something that says that Captain Matthew Baldwin had helped rescue wounded soldiers after a battle from both the Confederate and the Union side, and that it was considered very heroic on his part to have brought these soldiers in and to make sure that they were cared for. And this was just at the end of the war, and so this was considered the beginning of a healing of both sides, in the aftermath of the war. So this is what he is going to share in his guidebook about Virginia. So this resolves the matter for the Baldwin sisters, because in this light, their papa was a hero, and that the harboring of the Union soldiers was, rather than treasonous, it was an act of caring and compassion and the beginning of the healing. As a side note, there's an episode later on where there is reference to some of the beaux of the Baldwin sisters, and the name of Porter Sims is brought up as a former beau of Miss Mamie's. So although he is some years younger than Miss Mamie, she felt that there was a real connection between the two of them. So to her mind, there was a little bit of a potential romance there. That's what I have for you for this segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons about the episode from season 4, The Boondoggle. If you are enjoying these, please do hit like and subscribe and the notification bell if you'd like to know when I post another one. I'll see you next time for more Behind the Scenes of the Waltons and more Ask Judy. Thanks for watching.